Hey folks, welcome back to the another video of the Flutter Development course brought to you by Newton School. For those of you who are wondering who I am, so my name is Harsh Kumar Khatri and I'll be your instructor for this Flutter Development course. I am currently working as an intern at Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. I have been an ex-Flutter developer intern at AppScript where my primary goal was to develop Flutter application totally from scratch depending upon the needs. I am also an instructor at Udemy and Nutanix where my Flutter courses have more than 10,000 plus enrollments and people are learning from those courses. Now for those of you who don't know what Newton School is. So basically Newton School is a platform which you can use to learn and develop your skill that you need for your best tech career. There are courses specifically designed for freshers, working professionals and for women with no prior experience in tech. Newton School first trains you for 6 months and then helps you become developer, full stack developer. It also has a network of more than 300 great companies who hire directly from Newton School. So once the training is complete, Newton School also ensures that you are placed with one of the best companies in the country. They are also having a pay after placement program where you don't have to pay Newton School anything until you get placed with a minimum CTC of 5 lakh rupees per annum. They are also having another awesome initiative which is known as Launchpad where they are providing you with some of the courses free of cost, and there is also an editor available on their website where you can practice those courses and can complete those courses and earn a certificate of completion. So make sure to check out Newton School and Launchpad through the link given in the description. Now moving towards the today's video. So this video is in the continuation of the previous video in which we have discussed about some of the basic widgets which you will be using throughout the course or throughout your Flutter development journey. So now let's continue the remaining widgets which we were discussing in the previous video. So next we have a text button. Earlier it was known as the flat button widget, but now the flat button has been deprecated and in place of that we have the Flutter team has added text button. The text button basically takes an on press which triggers a function when this button is clicked, and it also takes a children. So quickly adding a children as hello as a text, and for the on pressed it will be printing something, print hello, saving it so that the changes could take place. Now when I'll be clicking on this hello, you can see inside this debug console that this button is being triggered and it is like printing hello again and again inside the debug console. So this was for the text button. It also has some other properties like long press, styles for styling this button, autofocus for focusing this button as soon as the screen is loading, and clip behavior as well. So we'll be implementing all of these properties later when we are working with text button on some of the projects and using it there. Now after this text button we have an elevated button over here. So earlier this elevated button was named as raised button, but now raised button has been deprecated and it has been replaced with elevated button. It also takes an on press function, printing hello when this is pressed, and the child to be text hello there, saving it. So here you can see that the height and width has been completely occupied by this elevated button. Let me change the height and width to be 50-50 each so that the button appears effectively. So here you can see that it is appearing here on the top left. When I'll be clicking on this button, it will be printing hello inside the debug console, as you can see over here. When I am pressing this button, it is printing hello over here. It also has similar properties as that of the text button. You can see autofocus is here, focus node, key, long press, style, and clip behavior. Now moving towards the next widget which we are having. So the next one being the floating action button. Let it be here. So we generally add floating action button inside the scaffold by using the floating action button property which is available inside the scaffold itself. But we can also add the floating action button inside our app. Let me first add an on pressed for this, print hey how are you, and for the child of this floating action button adding an icon. We can also add this floating action button inside our container. Let me cut this floating action button or copy this floating action button from here, and in place of elevated button pasting it, saving. So you can see over here that we have one floating action button over here, and next one is here. So this floating action button property aligns the floating action to the bottom right, whereas when we are using it inside the body, then we can use it accordingly and align it according to our needs. Let me press the top one first. You can see that it is printing the text in the debug console, and pressing the bottom one also you can see that it is printing the text in the debug console. So apart from this on pressed and icon property, apart from the on press and the child, this floating action button also has some other properties, and these are much more properties as compared to those of the elevated button and of the text button. So we have an autofocus, we can change the background color, provide a clip behavior to it, disable the elevated button, add some elevation to this, decide the elevation of this floating action button. Like I want the elevation to be 20, so it will be it will be appearing in a more 3D format and will become much more elevated. We can also add the focus color, the focus node, focus elevation, hero tag. If we are using multiple floating actions button together, then we can use the hero tag, and for identifying each of these floating action buttons separately, we can use a key. We can also assign a shape to it, a splash color, like when you will be clicking on the floating action button, the color which will be occurring, a tooltip. So let me add a tooltip quickly. I guess it takes a string. Hey, so when I'll be pressing this button for a long time, it will be displaying hey over here. And for the splash color, colors dot black. So when I'll be tapping this button, you can see that the splash color is occurring as black. So this was for the splash color and for the floating action button as well. Now let me remove this floating action button, and inside this container, let's move towards the next widget, which is a center. So center has various different properties inside it, like the child property is present over here, the height factor for assigning the height, at to what extent the height of the center widget should be. You can also add a width factor for assigning the extent of what the width of this center widget should be, and a key property for assigning or for identifying the center among the various different center widgets which are available. So we can use the key property over here. I have already shown you the working of center widget 2 to 3 times previously as well. So I'll be moving towards the next widget, which is a gesture detector. So inside this gesture detector, we have various different widgets which we use. We have various different properties which we use. The first one being a child. So I am adding a child as text only. Next we have an on pressed or on tap. So it will be printing something when I am tapping it. Next we have the on long pressed. So when you are pressing it for a longer period of time, it will be printing something else. Apart from this, let me show you all these in action. So here you can see that it is displaying hello. So when I'll be tapping on this hello, it is displaying hello. When I'll be long pressing on this hello, it is displaying long press. So hello and long press over there. Next we have a behavior property inside this gesture detector. So what is the use of this behavior property? For example, if you are having a container with the height and width of 50 each, and inside that you have passed a text which is being wrapped inside this gesture detector. So here you can see that the container is having the height of 50, width of 50. Let me add a color as well. Colors dot red. And next thing, let me remove this behavior for now. So what generally happens inside a gesture detector is, so here you can see that I have enclosed my text widget inside the gesture detector, which is present inside the container of height and width of 50. So when I'll be tapping on the text specifically, then only the gesture detector or the things inside the on tap and on long press will be taking place. But when I'll be tapping on this space which is present inside this container, in that case the changes won't be taking place, or these functions, the print statements, won't be triggered. So to tackle this particular problem, like the spaces should also be considered as a part of this gesture detector. So we can add a behavior property inside this gesture detector which takes hit test behavior, and along with it we can attach opaque, so it will be detecting the opaques as well. And when we'll be tapping on the opaques as well, then also it will be displaying us with the appropriate things, or it will be running the functions regarding the on tap or on long press. Apart from that, we have various different things like on force press break, on long press up, on pan cancel, and so on. You can go through all of these by yourself. Mostly the ones which we will be using throughout this course are these ones only, like on tap, the child, and the behavior. Now moving towards our second last widget, which is the Flutter logo. So Flutter team has specifically developed this logo for helping you use the Flutter logo inside your app. Let me save it. So when you will be adding this widget, it will be displaying a Flutter logo inside your app, and you can use the logo wherever you want, and according to that you can display the logo. Next we have next properties which we have inside this Flutter logo are a curve. So curve is basically for the enabling the animation or style when we are adding some style or color change inside our app. We have a duration property for enabling the duration, like how much duration or in how much duration the logo should appear on the screen. We also have a key property for identifying this particular widget among various different widgets of same time which are available inside the app. We have a size property for changing the size of this Flutter logo, style for styling the text for this Flutter logo which is available. So this Flutter logo also has FLUTTR written along with it. So if we are enabling that, we can change the styles for that through this style property, and the text color for changing the color of the text which will be appearing along with this logo. I'm now moving towards our last widget. So that is an icon. So you have already seen me using icons multiple times inside floating action button. So what all things icon takes is, it basically takes an icon at first. So icons dot, and then you can choose from the list of available icons which the material icon provides you. You can choose from these list of icons, like you can see that complete list through this type, and you can use from any of these icons which are available over here. Next we can add a size to this icon. We can add a color, key, and text direction if we are adding some text along with this icon. Now one more thing which is present is a semantic label. So whenever we are having an app and we want some string not to display to the user, but it should be available so that people who are going through the code, or people who have enabled some properties, like for people who can't see, there is a function inside our Android app through which each of the things which they will be touching inside our app will be like reading out something, or the app will be telling them something out. So we can add a semantic label for the same. Like you can add a semantic label string over here which says this icon is for alarm. This string won't be seen to the user, but when the app will be reading out things, or when we have when someone who is unable to see has enabled the properties inside the inside his or her smartphone, then this text will be read out to him or her when they will be touching on this particular icon. So that is why we use semantic labels. Most of the apps use them, like if they are working on a high level or the app is being used by many users. But generally when we are developing basic Flutter apps, or our app is not being used by many people, then we mostly ignore this property. So this was for some of the basic widgets which you can use inside your app, or you will be using throughout your app, or throughout this course we will be using them. I have covered almost all of the properties which we will be using, the important ones, but there are more properties which are left still to be covered. So you can go through these widgets by yourself and see what all things you can detect and what all things you can use except for the ones which I have covered. Also, now you have some of the basic knowledge about the Flutter and its widgets, so you can start creating your apps or start creating your UIs. Also, if you are making something and if you are posting about it on social media, then make sure to tag me and Newton School so that we also got to know what you people are developing. And if you got to learn something new from this video, then make sure to drop a like, make sure to share this video with people in your community who are talking about Flutter or who want to learn about Flutter. Comment down something which you have learned from this video and what you want me to cover in the upcoming videos, and also subscribe to the channel for more updates or more videos which will be posted related to this course. So the videos are posted every alternate day, so make sure to be subscribed so that you get the updates about the new video being posted regularly. Also make sure to check out Newton School and Launchpad through the links given in the description, and stay tuned for the upcoming videos, and thank you for watching this.